Today's topic is business owners are the last to get paid, and only if everything works out, they get paid the most. Talking to a friend of mine, and he was in a rock band in the late 1980s. Did 2 albums. I'm not going to share their name. Did 2 albums, had a record contract with MCA. And this is what prompted today's call. He was talking about how in Canada, yes, they got paid. They barely made any money. Yes, they got paid, even in a small town like Thunder Bay, $10,000 for a concert. By the time you strip out transportation and agent fees, etc., there's very little left. And there was 4 in the group, plus obviously they had to pay their roadies and everything. And that went on for a couple of years, and ironically enough, they were to exit out because of a health problem with one of the members, because it was just becoming a situation where there wasn't a lot of money being made. I guess that's like a lot of artistic endeavors, whereby only a few make it, and the rest really don't even make a living. Used to watch, I remember watching The Cosby Show back in the day, and I interrupted there. The character who played Bill Cosby's father in real life had been I believe a trumpet player during the big band era for a lot of years. And up until about the 60s, you could actually make a good living at that, being part of a band, traveling around. It all changed with the kind of expansion of recorded music, and people stopped seeing live music as much, or demanding it as much. And so they got paid less. And there was less demand, probably more munitions coming online, and that kind of disappeared. So how does this apply to other businesses besides creative endeavors? My own business, my employees are getting paid, government's getting paid, rent's getting paid, utilities are getting paid. And going 2 years, there's not a lot of money flowing in yet. Yes, there's money coming in, but not very much. My time commitment is not that high, though. It's relaxed. I'm actually thinking of taking on a second gig, so I'm looking at other alternatives, see what's going on, because it is still growing, and it will reach a certain level. Although I'm running into that interesting phenomena, you should grow more, but then you have to get more support services, full-time bookkeeper, maybe part-time bookkeeper, full-time bookkeeper, etc. So your profit margins get squeezed a little bit. So it's that old volume scenario. And also I'm proving this yet, but I'm starting to think, this is based on comments from my father and a couple of family members who all have businesses, and the discussion about how the margin seems to be disappearing from everything. He's in a heavy industry type industry, and yes, there seems to be big money if you sell the business, which I don't think was there in the past unless you went public. But other than that, there appears to be just a squeezing of margins, and a lot of it, of course, is the Amazon effect, which is squeezing the mom and pops. It's got to be affecting everything else, because now, unless you're offering some service that's delivered locally, you're competing against the world. And you get Amazon Prime and cheap shipping, convenience, and the younger generation adopting those savings patterns. It's important to pay attention to the trends. What do I think about that? Well, I guess the story is I'm going to have to sit down today and put out a 5 or 10 year trend. I don't expect to be right, but at least I can make plans for it, work my way around it. So what is the trend of, now for me, I offer classes, could be done online, But adoption's the question there. Is there going to be a tipping point when suddenly everyone says, great? I'm thinking of Friendster and MySpace, who were successful enough. But then Facebook came in with just a bit of a tweak. Don't quite know the whole story. I'm sure there's a book about it. And so MySpace still exists. Kind of a music thing now. And Facebook is worth billions. There's billions in sales too. So that becomes the question. What was the tipping point there? MySpace was just early. So was Friendster. And for whatever reason, Facebook was able to blast through. So going back to courses, I'm thinking of Coursera and things like that. Was that going to replace universities? I begin to think so, to some degree, because the university tuition and costs are so high. Interrupted. You got to ask yourself: $40,000 a year plus board for some of the top schools. That's the question is, can you get that back realistically? You know, if you have FU money, then your kids, you just pay for it and hope for the best. But if you have to make an economic decision, I don't know. What's the trend? That's it.